Hi, I'm Loshani. I'm from the Motion Graphics and Animation department. I started my journey at AOD with my Design Foundation diploma, where I actually found my love for design. I loved everything about film, cinema, and design. And my love for stop motion animation came after I started my degree program, MGA, whereas I did an internship with a stop motion animation studio where I learned the technicalities of stop motion, and I decided that I wanted my final major project to be stop motion animated because I felt like stop motion could be used as a form of media to tell stories with deeper meanings, even though it's considered to be like a very childish or cartoonish form of animation. So the storyline for my final major project is actually inspired by a personal story. I developed it and I did research into stuff like grief, whereas the final concept for my film became grief. So grief is a topic in Sri Lanka that is not talked about. It is considered to be taboo. So I felt like I needed to speak about this because there are major issues that is happening socially because grief isn't brought up enough in families enough. So my insight for this film is actually that when a child does not grieve properly their losses or their trauma in their childhood, when they go into their adulthood, it could actually turn into chronic grief, which could lead into chronic depression, which should eventually lead into suicide. So my story revolves around this young girl who has a pet cat which she eventually loses in her childhood, and she doesn't get the emotional support from her family to grieve this loss and move on from it. So as she grows up to become an adult, different kinds of losses just keep on adding, and it turns into chronic grief, and she doesn't really know how to move on from these losses. And like major losses in her life happen, like her losing her job and her mom passing away, whereas she comes to the breaking point of where she is chronically depressed and she wants to end her life. So she sort of tries to end her life, and a similar cat from her childhood comes up to her, and he starts having flashbacks, starts remembering that this is not what her life is supposed to be. She's supposed to move on, she's supposed to absorb these losses, she's supposed to grow from it. So she takes the cat home, and now she has new responsibility in her life. She learns how to live her life happily, and she starts to like grow from all these losses that has happened in her past. So my film is actually called The Black Cat because I wanted to show the irony where black cats are usually considered to be very unlucky, and all these unlucky things keep happening in her life. But the reason that her life is so miserable is because she didn't grieve properly, not because of the black cat. The black cat is like the cat that actually saves her life in the end, and I wanted to use that play of irony there with my name. And for my stop motion sets, it took me around 3 months to make all of them, and it was such a learning experience for me on how to use things that I can find around my house in my animation and all of that. And I have these two scenes where part of it is animated in 2D and part of it is animated in stop motion. So the reason I did this was because I wanted to show that the 2D parts are her childhood memories. So these are memories, so it's in 2D, and like the stop motion stuff are stuff that's actually happening to her right now. So I wanted to use that symbolism in my film as well. And this entire project throughout this year has been a whole experience for me learning new things and learning how to animate. It has been a fun and very educational thing for me. And as for my future aspirations, I want to become a successful film director from Sri Lanka and actually make my mark on the industry. Thank you.